Most superstars complain. Shohei Ohtani doesn't. That's what makes this story so interesting. Because when Ohtani finally reaches a point where he wants something fixed, the Dodgers tend to listen. And over the last few weeks, something has clearly changed inside the Dodgers clubhouse. The smiles are still there. The wins are still piling up. The Dodgers still own the best record in baseball, but beneath all of that success, pressure has been building. Pressure created by expectations. Pressure created by injuries. Pressure created by a roster that suddenly has more questions than people expected. And according to multiple reports and growing speculation around the league, the Dodgers front office is already preparing for major decisions before the trade deadline. Several players who were once considered untouchable are now being discussed as possible trade pieces. Meanwhile, Shohei Ohtani continues putting together one of the most historic seasons baseball has ever seen. And that's exactly why this story matters, because when a team is chasing a third straight World Series title, nobody gets unlimited chances. Not prospects, not veterans, not former fan favorites. Nobody. The Dodgers know something very simple. They are not trying to build a contender. They already are one. They are trying to build a dynasty, and dynasties make difficult decisions. The first signs appeared during Ohtani's recent pitching starts. Fans noticed it. Commentators noticed it. Even opposing teams noticed it. The chemistry between Ohtani and rookie catcher Dalton Rushing wasn't always smooth. There were visible moments of frustration, pitch selection confusion, communication mistakes. And one sequence against Minnesota became one of the most talked about moments of the season. A miscommunication behind the plate led to a passed ball and a run scoring. Ohtani was visibly frustrated on the mound. Reports afterward indicated the pitch call had been misunderstood. Even Rushing later accepted responsibility and admitted the mistake was his. New York Post, that alone wasn't a disaster. Rookies make mistakes, every future star struggles. But what happened next caught everyone's attention. Ohtani stopped looking frustrated. He started taking control, he adjusted, he settled down, and then he proceeded to dominate hitters. 8 strikeouts, complete command, total control. It was almost as if Ohtani had decided he wasn't going to let anything derail his performance. The Dodgers won, but the conversation didn't stop. Instead, it grew louder. Because the numbers with Will Smith behind the plate continued looking dramatically different from the numbers with anyone else catching Ohtani. Fans began openly debating whether the Dodgers needed a more stable solution for the second half of the season. New York Post, and when discussions like that start happening around a championship contender, front offices pay attention, not because one player made a mistake, but because every weakness gets magnified in October. Every weakness, every missed sign, every defensive mistake, every roster hole. The Dodgers have won back-to-back championships because they refuse to ignore small problems, and that's where things get interesting. Because while most fans focused on Ohtani and Rushing, executives around baseball started noticing something else. The Dodgers suddenly have a roster crunch, a serious one. Young players are emerging, veterans are returning, top prospects are knocking on the door, and there simply aren't enough roster spots for everyone, which means somebody is going to leave. Maybe several players. The first name that keeps appearing in trade discussions is Ryan Ward. The breakout outfielder has impressed people throughout the organization, but the Dodgers are overloaded with outfield talent. Multiple insiders have suggested he could become a valuable trade asset if Los Angeles decides to pursue pitching help before the deadline. Then there are prospects, Alex Freeland, several young pitchers, depth pieces that other organizations desperately want. The Dodgers have the type of farm system that allows them to make aggressive moves when championship windows are open. And this championship window isn't just open, it's wide open. Because Ohtani is performing at a level nobody has ever seen before. He is pitching like an ace, hitting like an MVP, and making the rest of baseball look completely helpless. Which raises one enormous question. If the Dodgers believe this might be the greatest version of Shohei Ohtani we've ever seen, why would they settle for the roster they have right now? Why wouldn't they go all in? Why wouldn't they make the bold move? Why wouldn't they give Ohtani every possible weapon needed to win another championship? That's exactly the question being asked throughout baseball right now. And the answer could reshape the entire National League, because the names being connected to Los Angeles are getting bigger, much bigger. And what happens next could send shockwaves through the Dodgers clubhouse. That's where Dave Roberts enters the story. Because while fans are busy arguing about trade rumors and roster predictions, Roberts has been watching something far more important. The Dodgers are winning games. They own one of the best records in baseball. They lead the National League West. And yet, if you listen carefully to the way Roberts has spoken over the last several weeks, there is a clear message underneath every answer. Good is not enough. Not for this roster. And certainly not when Shohei Ohtani is producing at a level that may never be seen again. Think about what the Dodgers are dealing with right now. Ohtani is back on the mound. Yoshinobu Yamamoto looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball. Mookie Betts is healthy. Freddie Freeman remains one of the most consistent hitters in the league. Will Smith continues producing. Teoscar Hernandez has returned. Max Muncy is providing power. Andy Pages is developing into a legitimate everyday player. This team is loaded. But championship teams don't think about what they already have. They think about what they still need. And according to several league insiders, the Dodgers are actively monitoring pitching options ahead of the trade deadline. Why? Because despite all their talent, there are still concerns. Blake Snell has battled injuries. The bullpen has been inconsistent at times. Several starters are carrying heavy workloads. And October has a way of exposing every weakness. The front office understands that. Andrew Friedman understands that. Dave Roberts understands that. And perhaps more than anyone else, Shohei Ohtani understands that. Remember, Ohtani didn't leave the Angels just to play meaningful baseball. He left because he wanted championships. Plural, not one. That's why he deferred hundreds of millions of dollars in his contract. That's why he agreed to a structure that helped the Dodgers build a stronger roster around him. That's why every move this organization makes now is viewed through one lens. Does it help them win another World Series? If the answer is yes, nobody is safe. And that reality is creating a fascinating situation inside the clubhouse. Because whenever new players arrive, somebody else leaves. That's how baseball works. Every addition creates uncertainty. Every trade creates anxiety. Every roster upgrade creates a casualty. And there are several Dodgers who suddenly find themselves in uncomfortable positions. One of the biggest names being discussed is James Outman. Just a few seasons ago, Outman looked like a major piece of the Dodgers' future. He showed power, athleticism, defensive ability. Fans loved him, but baseball can be ruthless. Andy Pages emerged. Tommy Edman became an important piece. The Dodgers added more depth. Suddenly, opportunities became harder to find. Now many analysts believe Outman could become one of the organization's most attractive trade chips because other teams still see tremendous upside in his skill set. Then there's Ryan Ward. The outfielder has continued putting up impressive numbers and increasing his value throughout the season. The problem? The Dodgers simply have too many outfielders. For another organization, Ward could be a valuable everyday player. For the Dodgers, he may represent the type of asset that helps acquire a missing piece for a championship run. And then there are the prospects. This is where things become even more interesting. Because Los Angeles possesses one of the deepest farm systems in baseball. Teams around the league know it. Scouts know it. General managers know it. Whenever the Dodgers call another team, the conversation usually starts with prospects. Not because the Dodgers want to lose those players. Because that's the price of doing business when you're chasing championships. Several rival executives reportedly believe Los Angeles has the prospect capital necessary to acquire almost any player made available before the deadline. Almost any player. Think about that. While other contenders are searching for ways to improve, the Dodgers have enough talent in their system to potentially outbid nearly everyone, and that's why rumors have intensified. Every week seems to bring another report, another target, another possibility, another superstar connected to Los Angeles. Some of those rumors won't happen, most won't. But the important thing isn't which player arrives. The important thing is understanding why the Dodgers are exploring these options at all. It's because they see an opportunity, a rare opportunity, a chance to become the first team in decades to win 3 consecutive World Series championships. The last teams to accomplish something like that are remembered forever. Dynasties don't happen often. When they do, organizations become aggressive, very aggressive. And that's why fans have started connecting all of this back to Shohei Ohtani. Not because Ohtani is walking into meetings demanding specific trades. There's no evidence of that. But because his presence changes the entire equation. When you have a once-in-a-generation player producing at an MVP level while also pitching like a Cy Young contender, every season becomes precious. Every season becomes an opportunity. Every season becomes a chance to make history. The Dodgers know that. Dave Roberts knows that. And judging by the moves being discussed around the league, they aren't interested in wasting that opportunity. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. If Los Angeles does make a major move, who is coming through that clubhouse door? And what happens when a new arrival suddenly changes the balance of one of baseball's most talented rosters? Because the names now being connected to the Dodgers could completely transform their championship chase. And if even one of those deals becomes reality, the reaction inside the clubhouse could be far bigger than anyone expects. And that's where this story reaches its most important point. Because the real question isn't who might leave. The real question is who might arrive. Every championship team reaches a moment where management has to decide whether they're satisfied with what they have, or willing to take a risk to become something even greater. The Dodgers appear to be approaching that moment right now. Reports around baseball continue linking Los Angeles to potential pitching upgrades, bullpen reinforcements, and veteran players who could help strengthen the roster for another postseason run. Nothing has been finalized, no blockbuster deal has happened yet, but the message coming from around the league is becoming impossible to ignore. The Dodgers are watching. The Dodgers are evaluating, and the Dodgers are preparing, because despite having the best record in baseball, they know something dangerous. The rest of the National League is getting stronger. The Phillies are pushing hard, the Mets continue spending aggressively, the Braves remain loaded with talent, and the Padres are still trying to close the gap in the division. Standing still is not an option, especially when you have Shohei Ohtani playing the kind of baseball that only comes around once in a generation. Every time Ohtani takes the mound, history seems possible. Every time he steps into the batter's box, something incredible feels like it could happen. And inside the Dodgers organization, there is a growing understanding that these opportunities cannot be wasted. Think about where this team is right now. They are defending back-to-back World Series champions. They are chasing a three-peat. They have one of the deepest lineups in baseball, one of the strongest rotations, one of the biggest stars the sport has ever seen, and yet they still believe they can get better. That's what separates great organizations from everyone else. Complacency never enters the conversation. Dave Roberts understands it. Andrew Friedman understands it. The players understand it. That's why every trade rumor suddenly feels significant. Because the Dodgers don't make moves for headlines. They make moves for October. If a player is traded, it's because management believes another player gives them a better chance to win a championship. It's that simple. And that's where the clubhouse dynamic becomes fascinating. Whenever a contender adds a major piece, emotions change. Some players become excited, others become nervous. Young prospects start wondering about their future. Veterans start paying attention to every rumor. The uncertainty becomes impossible to avoid. That's why trade deadlines often create chaos inside winning teams. Not because players dislike each other, because everybody understands what is at stake. And what is at stake for the Dodgers is enormous. History, a third consecutive championship, a chance to cement themselves as one of the greatest teams of the modern era. A chance to give Shohei Ohtani another ring, maybe another MVP, maybe another historic season, maybe another chapter in what is already becoming one of the greatest careers baseball has ever witnessed. That's why so many fans have connected this entire situation back to Ohtani, not because he publicly demanded specific changes. Not because he forced management into action, but because players like Ohtani change expectations. When you have someone capable of carrying a team on the mound and at the plate, every season feels different. Every season feels urgent. Every season feels like a championship opportunity. And opportunities like that don't last forever. The Dodgers know it. That's why difficult decisions are coming. Some players may be moved. Some prospects may be traded. New faces may arrive. The clubhouse may look very different by the time October arrives, and if that happens, don't be surprised. Because organizations chasing greatness don't wait for problems to appear. They attack them before they become problems. That's exactly what the Dodgers have done throughout this dynasty run, and it may be exactly what they're preparing to do again. So while the baseball world focuses on Shohei Ohtani's home runs, his strikeouts, his MVP race, and his Cy Young chase, something equally important may be happening behind the scenes. The Dodgers could be preparing the next move in their championship master plan, a move that could strengthen the roster, a move that could shake up the clubhouse, a move that could send several familiar names out the door, and a move that could make the most dangerous team in baseball even more dangerous. The trade deadline is approaching. The rumors are growing louder, the pressure is increasing. And if history has taught us anything about the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's this. When they believe a championship is within reach, they don't hesitate, they act fast. And with Shohei Ohtani leading the charge, the rest of baseball may not be ready for what happens next. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us know in the comments which Dodgers player you think is most likely to be traded before the deadline, and which superstar you'd like to see arrive in Los Angeles. Because one thing is becoming very clear, the Dodgers may already be the best team in baseball, but they're not done changing yet.